to my channel. For those of you that are new here, hi, my name is Danielle. I make videos twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than anything that I've posted. It's just something that recently has sparked my interest. I've been watching a lot of these types of videos on YouTube. So I wanted to go ahead and do some research and film my own video on basically missing person cases, like unsolved missing person cases. Okay, so the background on Nicholas Barclay is he was the youngest of 3 siblings. He had an older brother and an older sister. They were from San Antonio, Texas. He was described as a troubled kid. He was sometimes verbally and physically abusive, where the cops had to come down a few times to calm him down with feuds with his mother. So on June 13th, 1994 is the day of the disappearance. So basically he was at the park playing basketball with his friends, and when he was ready to be picked up, he called his house to be picked up. His brother is the one who answered the phone, and because the mom worked the night shift, he refused to wake up his mom to go pick up Nicholas from the park. Apparently this wasn't the first time that he's disappeared. He's disappeared before, but usually returned back, within the next day or so. Apparently the day after his disappearance, he had a court date which would determine whether he would be able to remain at home or be sent to home for juvenile criminals. On the day that he disappeared, his mom only gave him $5 when he went to go play with his friends. So the cops assumed with $5 he wouldn't be able to get far. Apparently the cops thought it would be very easy to find him when they did decide to look for him, because he was wearing purple pants, had a backpack, and didn't pack any clothes when he left. Within a few days of searching, they realized that Nick Barclay was not gonna be back. Weird about this case is that 3 months after he went missing, his brother called the cops and said that Nicholas was breaking into the garage, but when the cops showed up, nobody was there. There was no trace of him. So this is where it gets super creepy, okay? It literally reminds me of like the movie The Orphan, if you've ever seen it. 3 years later, San Antonio police received a phone call from Spain saying that they had news that Nicholas Barclay was in Spain. Apparently he was found alive, and he was part of some underage sex ring thing that he escaped from. Apparently he was abused, but in relatively healthy condition now. His sister Carrie was overjoyed to hear the news, so she flew out to Spain and identify him. Apparently he had forgotten everything within the last 3 years, so she sat there with him and showed him family pictures and things like that, and kind of reminded him of certain events that had happened, in his life. Eventually his memories returned, so although he started remembering things, he still remained super quiet. It was unlike him and his personality, but they just kind of took it as all the abuse that he had endured. It was, pretty logical for him to be feeling that way. But before Nicholas can be sent home, they had to verify that this was actually him. So they had family photos sent over, and he had to identify them. Pictures that he had never seen before. He had to identify the people in them, and he only made one mistake. So they thought it was Nicholas. So this is a little bit creepy. So apparently Nicholas had blue eyes and blonde hair, but the new Nicholas that returned had brown eyes and darker colored hair. He claimed that the sex ring, or the people, the bad guys, dyed his hair darker and darkened his eyes to make him unrecognizable. And his family believed him. Like, what? Blue to brown eyes? Like, how does that even make sense? Distant family members and friends still questioned it and didn't believe that it was him. They found it very difficult to believe the changes that had occurred. When he left, he was like a young looking kid, and when he returned just 3 years later, he looked like a man with different features. So when a kid goes missing, they have those Photoshop programs where they can progressively age you, and so a private investigator actually did this to a photo. And apparently your ears, or like your fingerprints, they don't change as you get older, and so this person had different ears than Nicholas. Okay, so after all of these struggles and disputes, the court finally ordered fingerprints to be taken of Nicholas. It turns out this guy was an imposter. He was a 23-year-old man named Frederick Burden, saying that he had been raised without any love or affection, and supposedly he's done this before. Apparently he has like 500 different identities. He poses as he's missing kids. It's just crazy, and it boggles my mind that he's pretending to be a 16-year-old kid who's been missing. But get this. Even though the DNA showed that this was not Nicholas Barclay, his family fought for him to live there with them. They wanted him to be their son or something. That just is so crazy. Like, your son is missing. A crazy imposter, crazy man pretends to be your son. The DNA shows that it's not your son, and you still want to like live with him and keep him as your own son? Like, hello, I would kick this crazy man out and continue the search for my child. That just blows my mind. So let me give you a little bit of backstory on this Frederick Borden, the guy who's pretending to be Nicholas. So he apparently says that the family clearly knew that he was not Nicholas, and they were kind of like feeding him answers. Like, when it came to those photos and things like that, it's like they were giving him the answers so they can pretend to be the son. Apparently Borden himself called the police and reported Barclay's case as a murder case. It was just really weird, the fact that Nicholas's older brother had reported him breaking into the garage when that didn't really happen. Apparently that type of thing happens when somebody has been murdered. You want the police to think that the person is still alive. And it seems like the family was trying to cover something up, like they were trying to hide it. So before Nicholas's brother could even be questioned, he died of a drug overdose.
Coincidence? I think not.
So Borden, the one pretending to be Nicholas, ended up getting 6 years of jail time, and till this day still considers this to be a murder case. It just boggles my mind. If my child went missing and somebody comes back and is impersonating them and is pretending to be them, and I know for a fact that it's not my son, like, why would I go along with it and allow them to live in my house? Why would I feed them the answer so they can pretend to be my son unless I was covering something up? What my theory is that the brother killed Nicholas. Why would he lie and say somebody was breaking into the garage if nobody was really there? It's just a crazy case. It's still unsolved, so who knows what really happened, but I believe it was a murder case and that the family knew about it. I mean, he was a troubled teen, and maybe they just didn't want to deal with him. Do you think Nicholas was murdered? Do you think the family had anything to do with it? Let me know below. But thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. If there's any other cases that you want me to do research on, definitely let me know, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!